Hi everyone. I can see we're starting to get people coming in. So I'll just give you everybody about a minute to join. But while we're waiting, I'll just let you know that this webinar today is going to be recorded and it will be sent out to all the people who have registered, and it will also be available on the Centaur blog from tomorrow as well if you want to send it to anybody else at the practice. Okay. So I can see everybody coming in. If you want to just let us know if you can hear us properly in the chat, that would be great. Got it on for everybody to interact with us today. So just to let you know, during the webinar today, if you do have any questions, do pop them into the chat or the Q&A. Thanks, Melinda and David, for letting us know that you can hear us. Perfect, Kirsty.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, guys. Well, you might get started because there is a lot to cover today. So my name's Rebecca. I am the marketing operations team leader at Centaur, and today we have Andrej Petkovski. I hope I said that right,
No,
Andrej.
that's okay. Everyone stumbled on K. That's all good.
Oh, perfect. So Andrej he is a renowned cybersecurity expert, and he is the founder of Osmicro Networks, which is a Sydney-based cybersecurity provider. So I might just let Andrej kick off, and if there's any questions, just pop them in that chat, and we will ask them during the webinar or at the end of the presentation. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is Andrej from Osmicro Networks. We specialize in cybersecurity for Australian small, medium, and large enterprises. We've been in this space for, I'd say, probably about 15 years. And we pretty much spend all day, every day, on monitoring and understanding new threats. So today, I want to keep this. I understand, obviously, most of you are practice owners, dentists, clinicians. I understand that you may not understand some of the information that comes from all these media sources in terms of cybersecurity, things that are happening. You know, you got Optus, Medibank, all these things are happening. So what I'm going to do today is I want to try and we're going to make this session focus on things that are really important for you, things that are really important for you to understand, and things that are important for you to do for your practice to protect against today's threats. So I'm going to kick off with a couple of things here to get started. Then we'll go through some information on understanding the risks, what to do, and then at the end of the presentation, I'll have a little summary that will include itemized list of the things that you really need to sort of take away and look at applying at your own practice. So I'm going to start with the first slide right now. Here we go. I hope you can all see this. So I always like to say to everyone, it's not an if, it's a when. Everyone is getting compromised now. The world is digital. Everything is moving to the cloud, some form of communication online, interconnectivity. It's just there's no way escaping it. Pen and paper doesn't work anymore, obviously. So we now, in cybersecurity space, we now accept that it's not an if, it's a when. And what everyone needs to do is to understand that and minimize the risk to their businesses. So everyone needs to do their bit to try and prevent or at least minimize the impact of a cyber attack. The records in the first quarter 2024 compared to the last quarter of 2023 show that there is a 388% spike in cyber attacks. 388%. 88%. That's huge. Now, we are looking at, so what I've done here on this slide for you guys is just a small takeout from the list of impacted organizations in the past few months, from the beginning of the year and mainly first quarter. Now, this is a small portion of impacted organizations. We just picked some of them for you to understand, just to have an idea on what's happening in terms of small, large, medium. Everyone is getting compromised. Now, obviously, some of these you've seen. Ticket Egg, one of the latest ones that we know of. Shell petrol stations, Nissan. So this was a pretty big one, where most of Nissan's information has been compromised. If you ever bought a car from Nissan, it's quite likely that your information is out there on the dark web. One of the latest ones was MediSecure. That was pretty big. They do all the e-prescriptions. So a lot of that information has been compromised and so on. For example, Dell computers. So if you ever bought a Dell computer or anything from Dell, if you have an account, that data has been compromised. Approximately 56 million accounts have been compromised. Nova Employment, Suncorp Bank, Smoke Alarm Solutions. That was also a big one. They're a big installer of smoke alarms for homes. And they would have a lot of information about the owners and addresses and so forth. AnyDesk, February this year. A lot of you potentially use AnyDesk for remote access. AnyDesk was compromised in February this year. The list keeps going. This is like just a small takeout from that list. So as you can see, and obviously you see it on the news, media constantly, it is happening. What you don't see is the vast majority of the businesses you don't see are the ones suffering the most. The ones that you see are usually large organizations that they can survive cyber attacks. They have teams, they have resources, they're able to mitigate the impact. But the ones you don't see are the small businesses, dental practices, medical centers, small retailers, small offices. You don't see those because obviously they're not covered enough in media. However, the impact to small business is significantly bigger than to a large business. In fact, we have seen businesses cease to exist after cyber attacks. And unfortunately, it's pretty common, especially in the past 6 months. So it is important to understand that this is indeed happening. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the evolving security. So I need to explain to you guys in terms of what's actually happening out there. How is this changing? What's happened in terms of how is it now compared to a couple of years ago? We need to understand why the breaches now are so much more devastating for the individuals and for businesses. So the adversaries, I'm going to just make sure that we understand, go through the terminology. So adversaries, or the threat actors, which we may have in a couple of slides here, it's basically a hacker, right? Or a hacking organizations, hacking groups. They are on the rise. They're making a lot of money. They're very well resourced. They're large. They're spread across the world. They have the capabilities and are highly skilled. What we're seeing now is that 71% of the attacks now are virus-free. What that means is, I would say years ago, you would have been told, hey, you should have an antivirus, right? You might have gone and bought, McAfee or Norton or, Bitdefender or, so forth. And, that would usually stop those viruses that float around the internet when your staff clicks on the emails, and those sort of it was a pretty common thing to happen and to have that as a protection. Now, obviously, as the antivirus is evolved to be pretty good at picking up a lot of these things, the adversaries, the hackers, have also expanded their capabilities and understood that there is a need to change. So what we're seeing now, I'd say this is probably really prevalent in the past year, is that 71% of the attacks are not using viruses. And what that means is they're not using viruses means that the antivirus products simply can't detect it. It is not a virus. We're seeing that threat actors are now using and abusing Windows components, things that are already inside your Windows operating system. So they're using those components in a twisted way, in an abusive way, to gain access to your systems through all sorts of means and ways. And that basically evades the detection of the antivirus. So if you think that, hey, I've got an antivirus, I'm secure now, you're not. Simple as that. The world has changed, the attacks have changed, and the protection needs to change as well. We're also seeing a pretty big attack acceleration. What that means is from the moment they get into your systems, we have an average breakout time of 62 minutes. What that means is that from the moment of accessing your system to the moment of deploying what they need to do and gathering the information they need to do, it only now takes them 62 minutes. That's the statistic. And 30% of the attacks take even less, 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes. So what that means is you really don't have much time to react. Most of the attacks, especially in Australia, occur during the night when no one is present. Your support teams are not there, your staff is not there, you're not watching your systems, they're going at 2 o'clock in the morning, by 3 a.m. they're out, they've completed their work, you come in the morning, there's a disaster waiting for you. We're now also seeing 147% increase of the dark web credentials for sale. So I'll give you an example of what this means. So dark web, and we're actually going to go to dark web in a moment. So on our next slide, we're actually going to have a look at a couple of things on the dark web. But the dark web is basically a marketplace for all sorts of illegal things, including passwords and access credentials to your system. So, for example, there are websites that primarily focus on hackers selling stolen credentials. So, if you have, john@dental.com.au and someone has obtained that password for john@dental.com.au email address, and they intend to use that for all sorts of malicious attacks, well, they sell that on the dark web to whoever's the highest bidder, and then they use for that. So it's very popular on the dark web to sell credentials to different types of attackers. Some attackers will use that to, for example, deploy ransomware. Some will use to steal your information and then potentially reach out to your patients and try to steal their information and so forth. So there is a massive marketplace on the dark web for selling stolen credentials. And the worst thing about it is that you don't even know that exists. They could be out there right now selling your username and password to your Apple account, to your access to your network at work, to your router access, to your email account, to your some form of online account that you have, that you may have a credit card on, you have some other information, and you don't even know that it's happening, but it's happening out there. And potentially tomorrow someone is going to buy that and then use that in an attack against you. So we're seeing 147% increase in how much data has been stolen. The information and credentials have been stolen and now sold to other threat actors to use against you. And look, most of the attacks are not targeted. They won't wake up one morning and say, well, we're going to hit, dental smiles at this level. They're not. They're after money. That's most of them. What they do is they're just after, this is a financial benefit for them. And they usually have a whole list of practices and other different businesses they're going to attempt to attack. So for them, it doesn't really matter who you are. They're after financial gain. Now, the biggest threat, and I dare to say, out of everything that happens in your business, in dental practices, and we've been in dental for many years, and you have your fair share of problems. Staff retention is difficult. Marketing, you got to worry about, am I seeing enough patients? I'll be having enough influx of the patients, returning patients, and so forth. There's a lot of worries, obviously, a lot of things you have to do, you have to think about. But one thing that can completely take your business out is ransomware. So ransomware, for those who don't know, is a type of attack where they gain access to your systems covertly, the threat actors, aka hackers, and they lock your data. That's, for example, they're not from Windows database. They will lock it completely, and everything around it, documents, templates, letters, your business shared folders, your computers, desktops, everything. And they will ransom you for money in order to get that data back. And if you don't pay, you lose it all. Now, ransomware is a devastating type of attack. And we've seen many businesses succumb to it. But the problem with ransomware is, in the past 6 months, maybe even a year, ransomware has changed. Again, they've evolved as well. And now they use it's so-called a double extortion method. And this is why it's so devastating. And I'll explain this a little bit now. Ransomware originally will lock your data up. So it will encrypt your data. You won't be able to access it. So basically, you'll try to open that up for Windows, nothing opens up. That's because your data is locked, okay? And you will need to pay money to the threat actors in order for them to unlock that database for you to continue working, okay? Now, the problem with that is the threat actors are finding is that more and more people are understanding how important the backups are, okay? And the fact that more and more businesses are implementing effective backups, they're able to recover their data from those backups without needing to pay the threat actors. Yes, sure, it costs you money. Obviously, you have to contact your IT. You hope your backups are functional and up to date. Yes, your computers may be destroyed. It will take a day or two to reformat them, install Windows, install the software back, put your data back, and so forth. Yes, it will cost you money, but you ultimately will be back. And let's say after maybe $10,000 worth of labor that you've just paid compared to a couple of $100,000 ransom, it's worth it, right? It works. So the threat actors have realized that, well, it's not working enough as much as it was before, because people are able to recover. So what they're doing now is a double extortion ransomware attack, where what they will do is, once they enter your systems and gain access to where your data lives, they will first extract that data, everything they can find, patient information, phone numbers, names, notes, your business documents, files, photos, before and after, everything they can find. They will extract it covertly to their systems, and then they will lock up your machines. So what they've done there is, it's a double extortion attack, where now they say, well, hang on, just letting you know, yeah, sure, we've just killed your data. Maybe you've got backup, and maybe you'll be able to recover, but we've also exported your data. And if you don't pay us money, we will upload that data to the dark web. So now you have a situation, well, there's nothing you can do, right? The backups won't work against the data recovery, against the data being published, sorry. And this is what works so well for them now. So in addition to Now, the problem that you have restoring everything, now you have this situation where they're demanding money in order not to publish the information online. And you're in a bit of a pickle, right? And many businesses, unfortunately, decide to pay. And we are talking about starting prices now are usually from $250,000 onwards. So many businesses simply won't be able to afford it. 250,000, 500,000. Maybe you just bought a new chair. Maybe you just bought a new cone beam. Maybe you just got yourself into more debt to get some of the maybe new intraoral camera or a scanner and so forth. And now you have someone blackmailing you for maybe $500,000, right? So this is the evolving landscape. This is what's changed. This is what's so different now. This is why it is so dangerous right now. It was dangerous before, but now it's very dangerous. Now it's just a whole different level. What I wanted to show you now, and I hope this is going to be interesting to you, is many talk about these things, how data is out there, but I'm actually going to show you on the dark web live. We are going to go and have a look at this. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of advanced hacking groups in the world. When I say advanced hacking groups, I mean organized crime, organized internet crime groups that have many members, very well resourced. They make a lot more money than you do, millions and millions and millions of dollars a week. And there are many of them out there. They have a worldwide reach. And what I wanted to show you today is, Rebecca, if you're okay with me, I'm gonna quickly just close this presentation, and I'm gonna open. We're gonna hop onto the dark web. We're gonna go to the dark web, yeah. So this is the dark web that everyone is talking about, that mythical place. And I actually want to show you the website of one of the groups that we are following, in terms of looking at their impact to the world. And I want to show you their website and what they publish on their website. As I said, mind you, there are hundreds, probably thousands of similar locations. So I'm going to close this. Okay. All right. So just limit this a little bit. So in order to access the dark web, we have to use a Tor connection. It's called a Tor browser. I prepared a link for this particular threat group. Now, if you have a look up here, you can see how strange this domain name is, right? There's nothing.com, everything looks
sorry,
gibberish.
Andre.
My apologies. Yeah, I need to
we just need to share you the other screen.
My apologies. Yeah, here we go. Thank you, Rebecca. Much appreciated. I hope everyone can see now. Rebecca, can you see it? Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, perfect. So this is the Tor browser. This is the way that we enter the dark web. Now, obviously, I've taken all the precautions in terms of hiding our IP, making sure that we're using secure VPN connections so nothing can track us. This is not something you should do yourself, but I just want to demonstrate and show you how this all, what this all looks like. Look, and as I said earlier, I don't know if you've seen it, but so look at this address here. So normally you would see a .com.au address or a .com and .net and so forth, and it would have some sort of meaningful name. Now, as you can see, this is all just gibberish, right? And some random letters and numbers, and it's got a .onion at the end. Now, you can't just search for this. You have to know where you're going. And this is one of the ways that they hide it. So we're going to hop onto this website. Let's just give it a moment. Let's press connect. This shouldn't take too long. All right, cool. Okay, so here we go. It's already warning us potential security risk. That's fine with the certificate. Now, video. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is a dark website of a hacking group called Akira. Akira is a very dangerous, very skilled, and very well-resourced group which operates across the world. Its threat actors are spread across Asia, Eastern Europe, and there are rumors there are in Australia as well. This group generates approximately $600 million a year in revenue. That's the latest figure that the FBI has published. Now, have a little read here. I'll have a read here for you. So this is their page. It looks like this old school sort of DOS-looking screen. It says, well, you are here. It means you are suffering from the cyber incident right now. Think of our actions as an unscheduled forced audit of your network's vulnerabilities. Keep in mind that there is a fair price to make it go all away. Do not rush to access what is happening, to assess what is happening. We did it to you. The best thing you can do is to follow our instructions to get back to your daily routine. By cooperating with us, you will minimize the damage we have done. To those who choose different path will be shamed here publicly. The functionality of this blog is extremely simple. Enter the desired command and so forth. So basically, just imagine seeing something similar to this, asking you to go to their website so you can discuss and pay the ransom and so forth. Just imagine the trauma, right? And this is real. This is a real deal, okay? So let's have a quick look. I'll take you through some of the latest hacks. So let's type in here, we've got hacked companies. So these are companies that have been hacked. So we're going to type in leaks. Okay. So look at this never-ending list. Okay. Let me just find here. So these are all groups, you know, Granville, Food Care Limited, so forth, so forth. This is public. There's nothing hidden about this. You just have to know where to go. But this is all organizations that have been, let me just find, I'm pretty sure. So this is the group that took out Nissan. So they took out Toronto Zoo. Here we go, Nissan Australia. We've obtained 100 gig of data of Nissan Australia. They seem not to be very interested in the data, so you can find this type here. You can download it right here. Pressing the download button, you'll get everything from Nissan, okay? And many, many others. Stanford University, 430 gig worth of internal data, including information about students, passports, and so forth. Now, obviously, as you can see, so these are only the ones that haven't paid. And when you pay, you hope you don't end up here. And this is, as I said, just one out of many hundreds of thousands of websites and groups that do this kind of work. The problem with this as well is the media has access to all of these. So all the major TV and radio stations, all the journalists, they have access to this as well. Not just this, but pretty much most of the other big groups. And they monitor this because this is a great way for them to create stories, right? Cybersecurity is a big story now. Whenever they see an organization that has been compromised, they jump on it right there. They'll call you up for an interview, and imagine the impact if your name comes up in here. It is devastating. I'm going to close this now. So I'm going to take us back to presentation. I hope this was interesting to see. Not many people have access to this. So let me go back here. All right. So again, I'm just going to quickly take you through that double extortion. You need to remember this. Double extortion is the key. So when you talk to your IT provider, and hey, do we have functional backups? That is not enough anymore. It is critical, but it's not enough anymore. This is a process of a double extortion. It's a double extortion flow of from the moment they go in to the moment they publish it to the likes of that website that I just showed you. The first part is the initial access. There are many ways to get into a practice. One of the ways is old school, sending a spam email. Someone clicks on a link, that link executes something else and so forth. It downloads it to your machine, runs it, and then gives further access. There is a brute force attack. This is basically they keep trying different passwords against your practice, remote access and so forth, until they find the right combination. But there is also the exploiting of a vulnerability. And this is really important to understand. There are things that, we've been told before, have strong passwords and that's enough. It's not. There are vulnerabilities in devices that these threat actors will exploit. So when you get a modem, let's say you buy internet services from Telstra, Optus, so forth, they'll provide you potentially with a modem. So they send it to you, you plug it in, you works internet, all good, everything seems fine. But what you don't know is that maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the track, they discover a vulnerability in this particular modem that you have. Vulnerability is just imagine a wall with a small crack. They find where that crack is located and they are able to get through it to get inside your network. Now, unless you're monitoring for this, unless someone is managing this for you, if they find that vulnerability, they will get through it. And this happens all the time. Even some of the biggest brands have vulnerabilities, and they provide patches to be updated for against. So, but you have to know it. So if you think about having a strong password is enough, it's not. There are, we call it magical entryways. This is magical because you don't see it, and they find a way to get in, and suddenly they are in your network, and you're not even aware about it. It is absolutely mind-boggling, but it's happening. This is the world we're living now. So another thing is that we didn't mention it here, that is social engineering, and this is a very, very simple attack now. Humans are the weakest links. They will engineer you, one of your staff members, and get into your network that way. I'll give you an example. When we've done this for several customers, live presentations of, we'll pick a practice, let's say. We'll go online on their website, learn a little bit about them. Who's the manager? Are they any about us section? Who's the principal dentist? His or her name, and so forth. We just learn a little bit about it. Spend 5 minutes, not more than that. We'll call up the practice and, we'll just say, hey, my name is such and such, pretty casual, not too excited, not scared, something in between. Hey, I'm from IT. My name is John from IT. Dr. Nicholas or, Dr. Janine said, I need to have a look at, there's a problem with the high caps or the front machine is slow. They can't run something. So there's so many things you can say. Can I just grab TeamViewer quickly so I can have a look for you? And most of the times the reception staff will just say, yeah, no worries, here we go. And then give you the ID and the password that we're in. We deploy what we wanted to deploy. We'll even call back and say, hey, thank you very much, it's all done. Should be all good now. You have no idea where you're in now. And this happens all the time. That's a social engineering method of attack. So once a threat actor is in, using any of these methods that I just mentioned, they perform the reconnaissance in lateral movement. What that means is they will scan through your network, understand how many computers you have, switch, router, NAS, data server. They will get the names. They'll form a full picture, a network map in their own system that says, hey, this is where I need to go. I'm here, I need to go here. And from here to there, I need to go through potentially these computers. That's called lateral movement. They will move between systems until they get to the target location, which is, for example, where your data is. Now, I just want to clarify something. This is a bit of a myth that people are now talking to me about actually quite often, is if the data is on the web, I'm not specifically saying Dental for Web or any other practice management software or any other software at all, it means it's safe. Yes, it may be safe from direct attacks to the data, but that still doesn't stop threat actors from attacking the systems that are connecting to it and using it to covertly extract the data from them. The threat actors, again, hackers, they understand that the world is moving to the web-based products, so the cloud system, SaaS, software as a service. So again, they are evolving as well, same as what everyone else is doing. And usually hackers are much quicker than everyone else to come up with new tactics and tricks. So if your data is on the web, it's again, yes, they can't ransom it, they can't lock it for you, but they can still steal that data. And that's the component that's the scariest. But in this case, as I said, once they find some data, and you might have shares, you might have information on your computers, you might have emails, and so forth, they'll extract that data. So that's the extortion tactic number one. They will extract that data. Again, you won't even know that's happening. Once they've extracted the data and now they have that ready to blackmail you with, they will now go into extortion tactic number two, which is that encryption. Again, this may or may not happen. In some cases, we're seeing that they don't even bother to encrypt it anymore for you. They just steal data. It's enough usually to generate profit, but some will still do that. So that's the extortion tactic number two. This DDoS attack, so let's ignore this for now. This was a statistic in 1 month, specifically in February this year, that this has been happening, but we're not seeing this anymore. So they must have given up on this. It doesn't bring in enough profit. But basically, that's where they're going to start at this stage. They're going to start blackmailing you. They're usually going to leave a note on computers, a text file that shows that they've got your data. And here is how to contact them. We have seen some really brazen groups that will call you. So they will actually call the practice number, and they're going to have all that weird muffled voice, and it's creepy. It is uncomfortable. It is threatening. They will call you and they will blackmail you over the phone. And we've seen this. It is brutal. And obviously, if you don't pay, they will publish your data on the dark web. They will very often look into the size of your business. They'll think about you. They'll look you up on LinkedIn, on Facebook, see how much money you're worth, what they think, and then they'll blackmail you. But as I said, usually starts at about $250,000, and then it goes up to millions. We've talked a lot about now what's happening out there. So I hope you have an understanding of where we're at now in terms of cyber and what's happening in the world. So I'm going to start talking about a little bit about how to assess it and how to mitigate things and what you actually need to do. Obviously, there are ways to protect this, but there's things that you just simply have to do. And number one thing that I always say to everyone is the first thing you have to do is you just have to accept the reality of the threats. It's not if, it's when. You have to accept it. It's as simple as that. You need to do everything right. Hackers, the threat actors, only need to find one mistake. Just one unpatched computer, one vulnerability that you've missed, or one misconfiguration and so forth. That's all I need to find, just one mistake. Whereas you have to do everything right. So the risk assessment is something that needs to be done on a regular basis. So think about cyber and risk assessment to become your standard, as you would have other things that you do in your business. You pay certain bills every quarter, every month. You do certain, stock takes, or what you need to order from suppliers and so forth. There's things that you do as a business on a regular basis where risk assessment has to become your regular thing that you have to do on, I'd say, quarterly overview is a really good thing to do. So what you need to do is you need to identify your vulnerabilities. Now, we provide our customers with risk assessment sheets, which we can help populate, or they can populate themselves, which you go through to identify what are the vulnerable things in your business. Outdated software, network devices, misconfigurations, weak external passwords. You can't have a password 123 on your email account and then no two-factor authentication. Untrained staff, staff turnover, have the new staff been onboarded with cybersecurity knowledge and so forth. Some of these things require a third-party provider to do for you. You won't be able to find your own network device vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and so forth. That requires expertise. But again, that can be assessed pretty easily by by a skilled provider. Once you understand your risks, you need to assess the impact of those risks to your business, whether that's financial, whether that's downtime, whether that's reputational impact. If this happens, what would that do to my business? How would that stop me? Or for how long? Or for how much? So again, this doesn't have to be a complicated action. It can be templated in a document that just gets updated every 3 months. Hey, have we changed something in the past 3 months? Have we added new product softwares, new systems or something else? And that now, or we have a new staff member maybe. Have we onboarded that staff member to understand cybersecurity and so forth? So you just keep it up to date. So once a quarter, 4 times a year, that's not a big deal. If you can do enough Windows upgrades every quarter, you can do this as well. It's pretty simple. Now, in terms of mitigation strategies, one of the first things you want to do is on anything that's external, such as email accounts or anything that you access, is you need to have two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is critical to everything. Do not use just passwords. Even if you think you have a strong password, it can be cracked, it can be read, it can be compromised. But if you have two-factor authentication and it comes up on your phone, you know, that you want to log in, you press, that's very difficult to fake and hack. There are ways, obviously, to do that, but it's very difficult to do it. And they don't usually go to that level of sophistication for small businesses. Regular Windows updates and patches. I stress this all the time to customers. I'll give you an example. Just earlier this week, on the weekend, Microsoft has released a critical vulnerability for any computer that runs on a wireless network, that it has a vulnerability so big that an attacker can physically be in its proximity and be able to compromise it. And you know, now people will say, well, you know, who bothers to come on site? Well, trust me, they do. When there's hundreds of thousands of dollars they can take from you, they will do that. They will sit in a waiting room, sit outside, so forth, and they will attempt to do this kind of stuff. So if you didn't update, so for example, we've published these updates for this particular vulnerability last night. So you need to make sure you keep your updates and patches managed. Again, this is something that third party, a well-resourced provider can do for you. But it is critical to have. Firewall intrusion detection systems, firewalls, having a Telstra router, having a normal modems that you get from, that is no longer enough these days. You should have a very reputable firewall. They're not expensive now these days. They come in small business sort of package sizes and prices, and they will provide with enormous protection increase. Laptop BitLocker encryption, critical. If you have a laptop and you're carrying it around, chances are you use it to remote access to your systems, or you store some patient information on it, or your business information. If you lose that laptop, put it on top of the car, you drive off, or you leave it at a pub, or you leave it somewhere and someone steals it, or even you leave it at home and someone steals it from there, they suddenly can get access to your data. Yes, you have a Windows password, sure, that's very easily bypassed. They just pull the hard drive out and they got access to your data. If you have BitLocker encryption enabled, they won't be able to do that. It will be protected. Secure backups, again, this is not something that I believe needs to be discussed anymore. I feel that businesses understand this, but it is critical. However, not just to have them, but to also test them on a regular basis. You have to request this. We very often see customers say, well, we've got backups. Yeah, my IT manages that. But okay, that's great, but you need to be aware of that. But you need to test it. You need to make sure it actually works. Email filtering and protection is critical now. Any emails that come to your email account have to be filtered by a third-party filtering service. That is a critical protection now. Web filtering, again, same thing. The best brand out there is called Cisco Umbrella. It filters the traffic that your staff takes or makes, or yourself, anyone at the practice, through the web browser. It filters out categories and malicious links and so forth to try and prevent your staff from accidentally reaching. And the last but not least, and probably the most important, is the next generation protection. I will explain shortly what next generation protection is. So let's move on to the next page. So I'm not going to go on too much about this, but the employee training, the human factor, it is critical. Humans are the weakest links. The best technology can be undermined by untrained staff. As I mentioned earlier, my little example of how easy it is to get access to someone's systems by pretending to be your IT or someone else. It just bypasses. You can buy as many firewalls as you want. We've just bypassed it. Cybersecurity culture needs to exist in every business. We have posters available that we provide this to requesting customers in terms of what are the things to look out for. You just put them on the reception. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Reception, clinicians, nurses, everyone at the practice, managers, office people, owners, everyone has to take responsibility. Create policies and procedures. You can talk to your legal advisors, or you can just download some templates to implement small but easy to understand and easy to follow policies and procedures when it comes to how to detect a potential cyber incident or prevent it. Make sure you do this for onboarding staff. We see a lot of in dental. There is a fair bit of staff changeovers. So we find that new staff just simply don't get onboarded. Try and work on your onboarding to make sure that they understand who to call, what to do, what not to do, and make sure you spend half an hour onboarding each staff member with these. Balancing security and convenience. There's a couple of things I'm not going to go too much about this because this is not a huge issue yet, but there are things like that we see, such as remote access. We've had a complaint recently from a customer. I can appreciate that there was too many 2FA pop-ups on certain services. So I keep having my phone to authenticate. And I understand that it is a bit annoying, especially if you're in a rush or you're busy. But you really need to understand also that may have just protected you against something malicious. But again, there are systems and solutions that you can minimize those pop-ups, right? And all those annoying things that you have to now think about. In terms of passwords, I always find that, what's my password? Or, I have the same password everywhere. That's my password, generic password for everything. Do not do that. That's exactly how they get you. You use password managers. Password managers are fantastic. We recommend a product called Dashlane. There are many password managers. Dashlane is one of the best ones. It basically automatically remembers passwords for you, and it also creates them randomly with random characters and lengths, and it's like your personal password manager. It's able to even implement it automatically on each website when you visit. It's just phenomenal, and it's secure, and it prevents you from having the same password everywhere, over and over again. Okay. Again, we talk about remote work. It is critical for remote work to be done carefully and securely. You must consult with your IT whether the way you're remoting into your systems is appropriate. And because we have seen customers choosing ease of access to their systems through certain protocols they shouldn't be using, and then suddenly they got hacked. I always say to everyone, the goal is not to eliminate all the risk, but to manage it effectively and minimize it. Like everything else in life, nothing is certain, but you want to minimize the risk to the impact of a cyber attack. Now, impact of cyber attack and breaches. When you do have a cyber attack or a breach, number one impact, and this is going to go at the business owners, the people who this directly impacts, and that is enormous trauma and stress. Enormous trauma and stress. Look, you are dealing with a criminal organization. It's no different than being robbed on the street, probably worse. They have a cyber gun pointed at you. They're asking for money, and they're holding you for ransom. They're holding your livelihoods, your family, your business. It is an enormous amount of stress and a trauma that will follow you. So think of that. there are studies online on how trauma can cause mental health issues. Trauma or cyber attack can cause mental health issues. Implication, obviously, financial implication in terms of ransom payment, starting at 250K in 2024. Again, we've seen it go up to millions. Lawyer fees, legally, if you get impacted by a cyber breach, legally in Australia, even if you're a small business, which I think it constitutes under 3.5 million revenue or 3 million revenue, if the data that you hold is personally identifiable information, which is what all dental practices do, you are legally required to report the breach to OAC, the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, which then will go through its investigation process. Investigation process can be extensive, and what they're going to want to see, they're not going to be there to help you. They're going to be there to investigate whether you've done the right thing to prevent this from happening, such as, have you had enough protection? Have you done this? So basically the items that I was talking about in the previous slides, have you gone through all of that to implement? And if they find you haven't done enough, they may decide to fine you. And obviously there are other penalties in terms of marks on the business for future privacy reviews and so forth. And with involving OAC, very often, as I said, the lawyer fees is what also can come up as well. So there's just an enormous amount of implication. Not to talk about the brand damage, obviously, to your business. If your patients find out that you've done this, you've done that, so it is just something that's going to follow you for a very long time. And as I said, it can push your practice to insolvency. We've seen this happen, and be aware of that. The future. Obviously, there's a lot of bad stuff happening, but there are good stuff happening too. So the vendors, the software providers, the cybersecurity world, the sort of the positive side of that cybersecurity is of the cyber world is also evolving as well. Now we have help from artificial intelligence. Yes, so the threat actors as well, they use artificial intelligence to attack us now too. That's a new thing too. But we also have that helping us through the machine learning detection systems, and the behavior analysis are changing. The passkey authentication is the future. So passkeys are going to replace passwords. So services that you want to log into, you want to no longer have a password. You might type in your name, and then perhaps it will pop up on your phone to say log in safely. You press yes, and now you're logged in. So eliminating the password will eliminate that part of password being compromised, right? Instead, they will have either potentially some will have biometric response to the authentication and so forth. So it's going to be much harder to compromise that. Now, I was talking about in a previous, I'm just going to go back quickly here, in the mitigation strategies on the last item says the next generation protection is a must. And I'm going back now to this slide so I can explain a bit further. So the next generation protection is the one that can detect attacks, today's attacks. As I mentioned in the very first, at the beginning, the standard antivirus, the old school antivirus products can no longer detect sophisticated threats like that because they're no longer based on viruses. They're now based on behavior. They're based on abusing internal components of Windows and so forth. We use CrowdStrike Falcon. CrowdStrike Falcon is the best system in the world. You can see on the screen here, that's the, as of November 23, there's a new one coming up soon. The quadrant, the Gartner's quadrant shows CrowdStrike as the absolute leader. We have chosen CrowdStrike purely because of this. We've been trained and certified in this. And this is a system that provides that next generation protection that's capable of determining behaviors, and based on those behaviors, acting. It is a fully autonomous system. It is a mix of humans and AI. It is able to learn. It is able to detect threats real time and then contain your system. So what that means is, in fact, we actually just had this morning a situation where there was a malicious action on one of the systems by an internal user, staff member of one of our customers, and CrowdStrike Falcon has seen it as a malicious behavior and has completely contained that system. What that means is that system, that computer, was simply cut off from the internet so that the actions cannot continue. This system monitors it for 24/7. CrowdStrike Falcon also has a security operations center around the world that detects highly sophisticated threats. And even if it's unable to automatically prevent them and stop them, the Security Operations Center jumps in and mitigates this for you middle of the night. Again, CrowdStrike is, when it comes to security, you want to use the best. And CrowdStrike is the best product. We use it ourselves for our customers. And it is the next generation protection that's now becoming a must. Unfortunately, the old school, the legacy, we call it the legacy antivirus products, just simply can't cope with the new types of attacks, especially now with the AI in play as well. The types of attacks are now becoming a lot more sophisticated. So you might want to take a photo of this. We're happy to send you. We have a checklist of that. So this is a summary of what I've spoken about today in terms of what are the things that you should do at your practice. I'm going to go quickly through it. So strong passwords and multi-factor authentication are critical. Regular software and Windows patching has to be on a weekly basis because Microsoft releases patches every second Tuesday. So it's best to always do them every week to make sure that your systems are covered. In terms of emails, use Microsoft 365, use Google Workspace, avoid free accounts at gmail.com, at hotmail.com. They simply don't come with the same level of protection. However, email filtering is still required to go on top of that. So that's something a third-party cybersecurity service can implement for you. Web protection, the web browsing filtering filters the traffic that your staff or yourself request through the browser. And is important as one of the first security methods that you can have in the practice to try and prevent to get to the malicious location. Reputable firewalls, which all must be kept up to date. Even reputable firewalls have vulnerabilities. However, the reputable firewall vendors are very quick to deploy the fix for it. Cisco, Draytech, FortiGate, some of the leaders. Cloud backup, again, that is a default these days. I'd like to think so. Tested on a regular basis. You can ask your provider to do it every quarter, twice a year, whenever you want to do it, just to make sure that you can actually recover. Avoid opening router firewall ports. It may not mean much to you, but ask your technology provider, do I have any open ports on my network? Do not leave any open ports. If you can remove them all, remove them, okay? CrowdStrike Falcon, absolute must. I can't stress enough about how CrowdStrike Falcon is important. And again, I know it feels like maybe I'm pushing a product, but I'm not. It is the best product out there. When we chose the CrowdStrike Falcon, we chose it because it's the best. Maintain a cybersecurity culture. Again, just keep that sense of, hey, there are threats out there. Make sure that your staff has that culture, just understanding, just sort of think before you click, think before you respond. Just know that it exists there. Monitor for brute force attempts. Again, same as the ports above. It may not seem much to you, or you may not understand what that means, but monitoring for brute force attempts is one of the first indicators that someone is in your network. And your provider should be sophisticated enough and skilled enough to be able to do that. User permissions and shares access control. Again, a bit of an IT thing, but you must make sure that there are correct access control in place at your practice. Who can access what? And how easily compromised that is. And the last bit is and this is really important, and uh, we get this a lot. We ask the provider, hey, what are you doing about this? They're like, oh, I don't know, my IT does it. Or what about this? Oh, yeah, IT does that. Or, oh, I don't know, I think IT does it. You have to take responsibility. You have to know this. Because look, when it happens, and when OAC, the Information Commissioner, reaches out to you with an investigation, they're not going to be blaming your IT. They're going to be going after you and your business. And you have to take the responsibility of knowing what you have, what you don't have, and that what I have is functional. That is your responsibility. And you just have to understand that, unfortunately. I know it's better to just sort of hand over something to someone else, but something so critical that can take your business out has to be accepted as your responsibility. And I think we're done for today.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrej. There was a lot of information there, guys. So just wanted to follow up and let you all know that we have recorded the session. Because we have used the whole hour, I understand that a lot of you probably need to get back to work after your your time here today. So in the follow-up email, I'll also include details on how you can get in touch with Osmicro. There's been no questions, Andrej, during the webinar. So if you do have any questions, do feel free to reach out to Andrej and the Osmicro team after the webinar. And I'm sure that they will be happy to assist you moving forward. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrej. Everyone, have a great day, and we'll get this recording out to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and enjoy
Thank
the rest of
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.